What's going on, Show Nation? It's Movie with Movie Gaming TV, and in this video, I'm going to teach you about pitch sequencing in MLB The Show 22. These are the different pitch combos that you can use, and this should make you a better pitcher after you've seen this video. So we're going to go with Corbin Burnes, who is one of my favorite pitchers to use. He has my two favorite pitches in the game. He has a cutter and he has a sinker. He also has a slider. He's got a curveball and he's got the circle change, which I do not like at all. I much prefer a regular changeup, but it is what it is. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the inside sinker. Now, this is the best pitch in the game, in my opinion. If there's a right-handed batter up right now, the fast inside sinker is a really, really good pitch. And at the end of this video, I will give you some of my favorite pitchers to use, especially some of my favorite budget options, because there are a lot of really good pitchers in this game that aren't necessarily, the highest diamond in the world, but they are very effective to use in events or BR, or you could even throw them on your rank squad and still have them be effective. So this inside sinker is your best pitch. This should always be kind of your core pitch to go to. Now, in this game, if you go up in the zone, you can see the par area increases. That basically means that a perfect pitch will go into that par area, so it has more of a room for error. Going high and inside, but low, it does not do that to you. It can still go outside of the par area. We need a patch on the game drastically, but this is going to be your best pitch. I don't really put it like all the way down here because it tends to miss a lot. I like to put it like right here. So like right here is your best pitch. That time it missed, I wasn't perfect, but we're just going to go over sequencing. So another thing that you can do too is you can go a little bit on the inside as well with this. So it's going to be a ball. If they swing at that pitch, they're really going to either foul it off, or they're going to break their bat, or they're going to miss the pitch entirely. So if I feel like they're not as good, I will start going to that pitch more, especially if they're just going to swing at it. If they're going to swing at this pitch over and over again, we're in business. Now, the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to spam the pitch too much. If you spam the pitch too much, they might catch on to it. They got the PCI anchor. They could start anchoring there. And also, I just came out with a video yesterday that has to do with starting your swing early, how to hit this pitch so you can take this pitch away. I'll link that video at the end of this video, so make sure you check that out if you need help with hitting inside pitches. But let's just say that we're throwing a lot of sinkers on the inside and we want to switch it up. The two other pitches that we could go with would be like a cutter about right here, up and away. So we can go with this cutter up and away to kind of just combo with it as well. So if they're like starting to start their swing really early, or we just want to mix it up, because you really want to mix it up as much as you possibly can as well, because you want to be very unpredictable so that they can't see the flight of the ball going to one side or of the plate, or just like the same pitch over and over again. That's not good. You want to switch location and you want to switch eye level. So those are the two different things that you want to do. Another really effective pitch would be this slider on the outside. You could also throw the cutter out there too, but that's another pitch that if they're trying to take away this inside sinker, they're going to be out in front of this pitch. Another situation, maybe you have a runner that's on first base and you're looking for a double play. You can get them out in front by throwing a cutter on the outside like that and get them out in front. Now, let's say that you've been throwing this sinker a few times and they're starting to take this pitch a few times. What you can also do at this point in time is you can throw a cutter on the inside, low and inside, and just dot that pitch. So now they have to respect it and they're going to now swing at that pitch, and that's when you go right back outside to the cutter. So you got to like think about your own patterns that you're using as you're pitching, and then think about their patterns when they're hitting and try to read that. That's super, super important. So let's just say, maybe I'll start off in at bats with like a curveball low in the zone, below the zone just a little bit, and I'll see if they'll swing at that. Or if they're just taking this pitch, like they just keep taking this pitch, what I know they're doing is they're waiting back. So what that's going to allow me to do is now, if they're just taking this pitch for a ball, I know that I can start to put this pitch into the zone because they're waiting back so long to make sure that it's a ball that they're going to be late on this pitch if it's in the zone. So picking up on those patterns is super, super important. Another thing that you can get to, or that you can do also, like let's say I throw the sinker on the inside and then they chase it. Well, now they might be thinking, oh, I don't want to chase. I don't want to chase. I don't want to chase. So now we go to the inside with the sinker, or with the cutter, I should say, and we throw it for a strike. So you're kind of looking at those patterns. Are they late? Are they swinging at pitches? Are they trying to stay back? Because if they're trying to stay back and make sure that it's a strike, that's when you can go back into the zone. And when they're swinging like at every single pitch, that's when you can really go out of the zone. So you can use those two things to your advantage. Read what they are doing, and then make sure also that you pitch to different locations, like I just said as well. Now, with the circle change, make sure you mix in some of these as well. So let's say we're going to that. We could even be having a situation where they're chasing this inside sinker. They're chasing that pitch, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to make them chase the circle change. I like to put it a little bit below the zone, throw the circle, and have them chase over the top of that. I do recommend a lot of the time, say it's 0-2, you got an 0-2 count, make sure you take your waste pitch. Don't get lazy and throw it in the zone. One thing that can happen if you play against the computer a lot of the time is you'll throw way too many strikes. Online, you kind of need to be more outside of the zone and then hit the corners. And then what you can start to pick up on again is if they just start taking a lot, then you're going to be able to get those free strikes, or they're going to be late because they have to watch the ball travel so long to make sure that it is a strike. So at the end of the day, it's all about mixing it up, throwing these different pitches in these different locations, and then paying attention to your own patterns. If you're just like, all I'm doing is, you can fall into the pattern of I'm throwing a sinker here, and then on the very next pitch, I'm going to throw a cutter up and away, and then I'm going to throw a sinker low and in. Like, you don't want to be predictable. Maybe you throw 2 sinkers in and then 1 cutter away. Maybe you start off the at-bat with a cutter away, and then you go back to a sinker inside of the next pitch. Or maybe you start off the at-bat where you start with the cutter away, and then on the next pitch of the at-bat, you go to a curveball low in the zone. Like, just mix it up. That's really important, to mix it up and mix up the locations, because then you're really, really unpredictable and they really cannot sit on anything. Now, if you're throwing this inside sinker and they're turning and burning on it, one pitch that I really would recommend that you start to throw is a circle change right here, low and outside. Throw that circle change right there, low and outside. That's a good spot to get them to either chase, be way out in front of and early and not hit very well, or they're going to ground this pitch into a double play a lot of the time because they're going to be early. They're going to hit it on the ground. If you can hit this location, it's an important location to have. Low and away, a little bit below the zone, that's going to cause them a lot of problems. One of the best things you can also do with your pitching staff is make sure that you're going to matchups. The hardest matchup in the game is left on left versus an inside sinker. So make sure that you're never lazy when it comes to subbing in a pitcher to try to get that left on left. Because let's say they got Juan Soto or something coming up and he's sitting in the 4th spot in their advanced lineup. So you've already gone through like the 3 pitches or the 3 hitters with like your righty, and you can bring in that lefty. You really, really want to do that, because this is by far, in my opinion, like the hardest pitch to hit with the lefty. Is just that inside sinker or that inside fastball. Turning and burning on that is very, very difficult. It's a very like a high level thing that they can do in the game. So it's something that you want to take advantage of whenever you can. Make sure you get that same handedness as much as you can. Now I'd like to talk about some of my favorite pitchers to use because they have the pitches that I like. This Kenley Jansen obviously is amazing. The cutter and the sinker and the slider, all 3 of those pitches are really nice. And even now that I think about this, let me show you another pitch, because you can see how he doesn't have the changeup. I'm going to show you what I call the movie slider. So if you have a pitcher that does not have a changeup, you can throw what's called the movie slider. You just take the slider and you place it like right in the middle below the zone. But if you can execute this pitch, it's going to just go down. You're not really trying to hit the strike zone. It's going to be off speed, and it's going to look like a changeup. That's a pretty good one right there. That's all you really want to do. You're going to get them to swing over the top of that. It's just a nice pitch to have in your bag. That low slider way below the zone, I just call it the movie slider. They can swing over the top of it. And another thing that I want to show you, if they have a splitter like Kevin Gossman here, something that you can do if they have this on the pinpoint is you can always go like this and do the actual one. But if you're just throwing it for like a waste pitch, more often than that, you can just do this and almost do like that half motion, and it will just throw it like a waste pitch and do exactly what you want it to do if you want to throw a splitter. So if they've got a splitter or a fork ball or something like that, you really only have to go about halfway, and you can throw it like that almost every single time and kind of save yourself a lot of the hassle of doing what you need to do with that. So taking a look at even my events bullpen here, some of my favorite ones to use are like this Michael King because he's got the sinker and the slider. I love using Blake Trinan as well. He's got the sinker, the slider that we can throw as a changeup. He's got the cutter as well. I love having the cutter, the sinker, and the slider. Those are my three main ones that I love to have. Aaron Bummer is one of my favorite pitchers in the game. Like I trust him almost as much as any single card in this entire game, and I love using this card in events. He's so good, especially versus righties when you throw that sinker low and in that same location that I showed you with Corbin Burns, and then you combo it with the cutter and the slider towards the inside so that it jams them, so they can't really tell if it's going to be a dotted sinker or if it's going to be a slider a little bit inside or a cutter a little bit inside, like middle in off the plate. It's such a good combo. If you see them, laying off that cutter on the inside, then it's just time to dot the sinker. If you see them swinging at every single sinker, then it's time to go with the slider or the cutter. Just keep reading what they're doing. Aaron Lou's fantastic as well. The sinker, the cutter, and the slurve, and he also kind of steps out to the side, almost like Adam Ottavino. This is just a menace versus left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters, to be honest with you, too. Then another great events pitcher to have is Jonathan Loaiza because he has outlier on that sinker, so he throws a gas sinker. This pitcher is way better than you might think, and look, he's even playing way up on inside edge today. And another pitcher that's like that as well is Brusdar Graterol. Same kind of deal. Sinker slider with the cutter with the outlier on the main pitch. I love outlier sinkers from righties. It's just so good. So I just kind of wanted to show you that combo a little bit more with Aaron Bummer. Say there's a right-handed hitter up. I'm going to throw like the sinker right here and try to dot that up as much as I can. Most of the time I can dot that pretty effectively, more often than not. And then once that's dotted on the inside part of the strike zone, you can just throw that cutter a little bit middle in. Get him to strike out on that a lot of times, foul it off, hit it bad, or throw the slider a little bit right here. Or to the righty again, I can throw the slider like kind of down here and get him to swing over the top of it. And it's all tunneling off of this sinker right here, which is one of the hardest pitches to hit. Now let's say you have a righty like Kendall Graveman and you want to throw this sinker to a lefty like low and inside right here. The one thing I want you to pay attention is see the hoop right there. When you come back down on the analog stick, instead of like trying to aim for the hoop, make sure you aim a little bit to the right of the hoop. Just a little bit to the right of the hoop is going to be very important, because the one thing you don't want to do if you go a little bit to the left, that will leave that pitch in the middle and it will get crushed. The way to avoid doing that is just make sure you go a little bit to the right of the hoop. That time I wasn't too effective. It did dot up. But that's not what I'm aiming for. You want to go a little bit to the right like that. Just always go a little bit to the right like that, and you'll never hang that pitch in the middle. You'll always be able to keep that outside. That's not very good. So, be careful on that pitch. You don't want to leave that pitch in the middle. If anything, err a little bit to the side. Even that was not as good as I can get it. Let me try it one more time. I need to work on this. This is the one. I think this is a very hard pitch. There we go. That's really what we want, honestly. I would not go right down to the middle of that hoop. I would go a little bit to the right. That's what we want. Exactly right there. So another huge tip that you can use. And then, they're like, wow, he's dotting that. I got to go for that. And let me just hit him with that slider, have him chase over the top. So hopefully these pitching tips will help you win more games. That, in my opinion, is really everything I do when I'm pitching, and it's led me to multiple 12-1s and events and BR and stuff like that. And don't be afraid to use those lower tier pitchers. It's really more about like what pitches they have than anything else. You can still get away with a pitcher like Josh Hader or something like that. It has like really good per nines. It has the fastball and everything like that. In fact, before we end the video, I'll show you how I pitch with someone like Josh Hader. So if it's left on left with Hader, obviously we're going to go inside with the fastball. That's really the only pitch that we need, is either like kind of that spot right there or that spot right there versus a lefty. And then all we're going to do is we're not going to throw it every single time in there. We might throw the first two pitches right there, and then we might go to the slider on the outside and try to dot that up. Or we're going to take that slider and we're going to put it like right out here. So it's either it's going to look like out of the hand, like it's going to be a fastball, but then it's a slider away that they're not going to make contact with it. If they just cannot not catch up to this inside fastball, though, we don't need to throw like literally anything else. So we can just throw inside fastball. Now, if it's a righty, it's a little bit different. Like, it's more of a process where I'd probably start out like in a bat to a righty like this. First thing I would do is probably throw a slider a little bit like down like this. And if he chases it, then what I would do is I'm going to keep throwing that pitch, and I'm going to mix in the circle change on 0-2 to finish him off. Now, if he's consistently taking that pitch, like I threw 2 sliders like that, like right over here, and he's taking both of them, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the fastball right down here. Like right down there, I'm going to throw that fastball, and I'm going to dot it up. And I know that he's in take mode because he doesn't want to take the slider, so he's not going to be able to react to that pitch in time, and it's going to dot up. When I get 0-2, I'm definitely going circle change below the zone. Because he's got the changeup, I'm going circle change below the zone. If he didn't have the circle changeup, I'm going right down here. You could always throw, since you don't want to get into the same pattern, let's say you want to mix it up, then you can go with that 2-seam, like right on the outside right here to a righty. So that little 2-seam on the outside, get him out in front, switch inside, outside, inside, outside. You want to switch that. And if all comes worst to worst, I can always go up and in if I need to switch the eye level. So it's deeper in the count. I need to switch the eye level. I can go up and in and hopefully get him behind on that to a righty. In this game, you can always come back into the strike zone if you need to. So if you get behind in the count, you can always come back into the strike zone if you need to. But you also got to be not afraid to walk people, especially in something like events or BR where there's not that many at-bats. And let's say you got like a right-handed pitcher and then got like somebody like Juan Soto up at the plate with a lefty, or Bryce Harper or that new Jock Peterson, something like that. Don't be afraid to throw them 4 balls and then try to go after the right arm right matchup. Like, it's so much of a thinking game. I don't really care where you pitch from as far as like what view, or if you use pinpoint or whatever you use. I will link a pinpoint tutorial, like if you want to like get better at pinpoint, at the end of this video as well. It doesn't really matter about that. You just kind of need to know what pitches you use, where to throw them, the sequencing, and everything that we talked about in this video. So maybe watch this video again, watch it back, because there's a lot of information in it. But also, if you need tips on how to take away the inside part when you're hitting, make sure to check out that video. It's going to be linked as well. Follow me on your social media of choice. I post to Twitter, I post to YouTube, I post to Twitch, I post to Instagram, and post to TikTok. So if you like to use one of those apps as well, check that out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube as well. I would really, really appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.